In New York morning trade, we are looking at Bitcoin higher and trying to hold on to the 87,000 level after plunging below 86,000 yesterday. Now, Bitcoin DeFi is a way to expand Bitcoin's use cases beyond the store of value, while maxis may have concerns that this violates decentralization. More institutions and users are embracing Bitcoin DeFi, and these do include protocols as well as layers built around Bitcoin itself and wrap Bitcoin on other chains. Joining me this morning is Richard Green, Director of Institutional and Ecosystem for Rootstock Labs. Richard, thanks for joining us and good morning. So first and foremost, tell us about Rootstock's involvement as Bitcoin's DeFi layer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rootstock is a Bitcoin sidechain that is EVM compatible. And when we first were founded out in Latin America, the goal was to bring utility to Bitcoin. And obviously, Bitcoin as a chain, you can't write smart contracts on it. And so the goal was to bring that EVM compatibility to it. And so what that then meant was that as we were growing that out and as we were building that, we were seeing more and more use cases of people holding Bitcoin, wanting to borrow, wanting to lend, and wanting to save in different ways. That's grown, but also now as we've seen the institutions coming in, they're also interested in doing that. So what we've been looking at doing is building products that are as transparent, that are as TradFi relevant or relative to those institutions so that they can also get access to borrowing on their Bitcoin, using it as collateral, getting access to yield and those better things.
And Richard, momentum is something that we're paying attention to. So what are some examples of the momentum that you're seeing in Bitcoin DeFi?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a couple of use cases that we're really seeing strong examples of. The first of those institutions that held Bitcoin to begin with. Bitcoin is that gateway into digital assets, and they've been holding it, they've been accessing it for capital appreciation, and now they're looking and seeing things like custody drag, where they're having to pay basis points for that to keep that secure. They're thinking about how do I gain additional yield on it to cover those costs, whether that be a treasury, whether that be a DATCO, and those kinds of things. And so they're coming to us and asking about how can they get access to those TradFi products that are sitting on Bitcoin, that is native to Bitcoin itself. You're also seeing other institutions and other businesses where they may hold a lot of Bitcoin, but they are dollar or cash poor. And so they're wanting to use that as collateral. So they're saying, we have a lot of this Bitcoin sat with us, but we need to be paying for our overheads, we need to be paying for our employees' salaries. And so they're wanting to actually use that to gain access to the dollars that they need. And so that has really started to increase in momentum as I think things like the ETFs have been launching, more institutions coming in, and also more corporations sitting with Bitcoin on their balance sheets.
And of course, the big question is surrounding security. So tell us about the importance of security when it comes to Bitcoin DeFi.
Yeah, security is the most important thing when we speak to any of our clients, whether that be from the institutional investor side or whether that be from even the retail side. And so it's that not your keys saying. And so whether that be having your Bitcoin sat with a custodian, and you will see that a huge amount of custodians have been set up in the past number of years who have been really able to support the security that is expected of holding the Bitcoin, let's say via a third party. But what you're also seeing is a lot more questions around what is wrapped Bitcoin. And so not all wrapped Bitcoin is equal. To move from Bitcoin into a BTC-Fi or a DeFi space, you have to move into a wrapped version of Bitcoin. And what people are looking at there is, well, how do I move from Bitcoin into a wrapped version? At Rootstock, we have what we call a PowPeg, which is a bridge, which is people where the Bitcoin is secured within that bridge. Others have off-chain custodians. And so people are really drilling down into what does that mean? And then going beyond that, when they're looking at the actual products that they're putting their Bitcoin into. What is the protocol risk? What is the chain risk? What is the bridge risk? All of these different things mean that the sophisticated investors or enterprises are really looking at it as exactly as they would in the TradFi world.
And finally, before I let you go, 2025 has been quite the year when it comes to Bitcoin as well as digital assets. So given some of the lessons learned this year, what is your vision when it comes to the future of Bitcoin finance?
I think the goal is for it to be as stable as possible on an asset that has a long-term horizon. If you are looking at Bitcoin in very short-term periods, then you'll always have the concerns of prices moving up and down. But if you're looking at it as a savings product or a utility product over the next 5 to 10 years, then that is really where you can start to see people using it and moving it from a store of value into an active utility token. And so that's what we want to see at Rootstock Labs and Rootstock Institutional. And that's what we're building for. Things such as vaults, collateral products, lending and borrowing, so that people can see that there is a secure system, a secure asset, and they're able to deploy it into different areas that again meets the standards that they're very much used to. And I think that we will definitely see that.
Richard, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for sharing your insights as well as perspective.